I've got some potted perennials here. These are all perennials that can live, are hardy enough for my zone here. I'm like a 5, 6, kind of right on a line. These can live permanently in the ground, but they just didn't get in the ground this year. You know, one of the reasons being I can't seem to decide where they should live permanently, so they haven't made it out of the pots yet. I'm still not sure if I'm ready to commit to a space for them, but I'm not too worried, even though, you know, we're going into late fall and winter's coming in a couple of months. I still have some options, but because these are in pots, I should be giving them some added protection to overwinter them. So I have a few options. One of those options is just to heal these into the ground. And, you know, that's a matter of digging a hole. Could be anywhere. Could be my vegetable garden where I've got good space and loose soil. And then just, you know, almost as if you're planting them, but you're keeping them in the pot. So I would sink these into the height of the pot, backfill around it. That will give some added protection and insulation around the roots, and they can survive. So I'm doing this because I didn't get them in the ground, but you could also do this for other potted shrubs if you're a container gardener, if you have that space outside. If you don't have the ground space, that's fine. There's other options. One of those other options is to overwinter inside in an unheated or minimally heated space, something preferably that's going to be under 50 degrees Fahrenheit, even lower towards 40 or below would be better. You can do this for plants that maybe you're keeping in containers because they're not hardy enough to live outside all winter long in your zone. Those would do better inside in a more protected environment with a little bit of warmth. Even if it does freeze, a lot of your perennials that are maybe like just 1 or 2 zones less hardy than your zone, so say if you're in a 5, they really should only be planted up to a 6. If you take those inside and overwinter them inside, you'll have better luck getting them through the winter, being able to bring them back outside in the spring so that they can live and grow again. And even if you think it's going to hit freezing in that space, the protection from the wind and the weather should be enough to keep them going. The difference between a 5 and a 6 zone, you know, you're still getting freezing temperatures in a zone 6, but it's a little less severe than what zone 5 is getting. So if you're working with plants that are only maybe a zone or 2 away, that is a good option. If they're more tender than that, they might need something more towards that 50-degree space. But so what I'll do is when these go dormant, I'll make that decision. They'll either get healed into the ground. These probably will, since they're outside hardy perennials, or I would take them inside to a protected space. Something else to consider is your fall mums. You know, if you've got all that invested in the mums, and those mums odds are they're a hardy version. The exception would be a florist mum, but those are usually a smaller pot or something that's done in arrangements. But most of the mums that we're buying and we're putting out on our porches and patios for fall decor, those are perennials, and if we protect them and overwinter them, we can get them to grow again. If you get them in the ground early in the spring, you can probably, depending on your zone, even keep them growing permanently as a perennial in the ground. So, you know, something to think about. A lot of us who are container gardening are treating a lot of perennials as if they're annuals, which is fine if that works for you, but think about the investment. You know, your perennials always cost more than your annuals for good reason, and they're good investment when they can come back year after year. But when you're spending that year after year, what you've got are really expensive annuals. So why not overwinter them and bring them back outside, and you don't have to start fresh every year. With just a little bit of effort and some good protection, that can happen.